Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing Philip K. Dick's The Crack in Space. This is what the cover looks like. And in this book, a repairman discovers a crack in space, hence the title, that leads to another world. There's a lot of problems on Earth right now, and this alternate universe seems to be the answer to a lot of these problems. But just maybe this alternate universe turns out to be its whole problem in and of itself. First of all, though, if you're new here, I post new book reviews almost every single day on both fiction and nonfiction books, so if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to stick around. The plot of this book revolves around the year 2080, in which Earth is struggling with a lot of problems. Primarily among this is an overcrowding issue. There are too many people that Earth cannot support, so there is an overpopulation issue that needs to be addressed. Additionally, racial tensions are running very, very high in the United States. There is a presidential election that is going on, and overall there are a lot of problems in society. However, as mentioned, accidentally, a repairman one day discovers a parallel universe. Initially, this parallel universe has been discovered by a doctor who is using it to hide his mistress during a high-profile divorce case because he doesn't want his mistress to be called to testify in the divorce case. But quickly word gets out, and this seems to be the answer to all of Earth's problems. They do some tests and they realize that this is actually Earth, but in a different timeline. Earth in which Homo sapiens was not the dominant human hominid species that developed, but a different strain, a different species of human was the one that developed and became prominent and took over the Earth. However, there's a lot of land, which the Earth that we are living in doesn't seem to be used, and they would like to maybe use this to solve some of their overcrowding problems. This seems to be perfect. We have politicians who are trying to spin this to their advantage during a highly contested election, and it seems like this is going to be great and work out. However, maybe the people on the other side of the rift in space in this alternate universe don't want all of Earth's overcrowding problems, and maybe there are people who have alternate ideas on what to do with this world. So that is where I will leave it. Opening up this alternate universe seems to open up all these possibilities for solutions of problems that Earth is facing, but it kind of opens up a bunch of other problems, including but not limited to, is it really right for these humans to come in and just take land in a whole Earth that doesn't really belong to them and potentially in the process anger the people, the humans of a different variety, but the humans who are currently living on that planet. Now we're going to get into my thoughts on this book. I actually went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to review this book, but I decided to give it my fair shot because I think we really have to approach the intention that Philip K. Dick was trying to go in this book. I want to come right out front and say that this book is going to feel incredibly dated to a modern reader. The author is discussing racial tensions. He's writing from the 1960s, and of course some of the language he uses, some of the ideas he presents are not things that we would maybe use or talk about now. At least I hope we wouldn't. Racial tensions and history in the United States has progressed from the 1960s, and I think that's a good thing. But I think that also we have to keep that in mind that we're reading this that was written in the 1960s. So Philip K. Dick could not, despite writing a science fiction book, write about anything other than what he knew. The intention I think he was going for is when humanity is faced with a bigger problem than what they are currently dealing with, for example, maybe an invasion of some sort, they might cease to view each other's the minor differences that we place between one another. We might come together as an us. We might band together to face this bigger issue. I think that was overall what Philip K. Dick was trying to go for. However, some things already mentioned, the racial tensions, are going to come off as incredibly dated. I think one of the first things that people are going to notice as a modern reader is that a key plot point in this book is Philip K. Dick has this election that's going on in which both politicians are trying to use the alternate Earth to their advantage. And one of the politicians is attempting to become the first Black president of the United States. And this happened in the year 2080. Philip K. Dick's estimate was a little off because Barack Obama was elected in 2008, not 2080, but it's definitely one of those things that when you first read it, you're like, oh wow, okay, his estimate was a little off, but Philip K. Dick intentions, I think, were there. Execution, maybe not perfect, but intention, I do have to say, I think was there. But again, I want to be very clear, this is definitely a dated book from the 1960s. The modern readers are definitely going to find some things that they maybe don't like as much with it. I do think leaving all of that aside, leaving the dated aspect, leaving the fact that this was written in the 1960s behind, and coming into other little things that I had problems with or maybe that I liked, there were a lot of characters to keep track of in this book, which I did find a little difficult. I frequently had to remember who the character was and what they were doing in the book when we switched to a different character. However, all of the characters were unique and meaningful. I didn't feel like there was a lot of like bland characters who didn't mean anything. I just felt like the quantity was a lot, and maybe the page space that the author had to develop them wasn't sufficient, because this book is under 200 pages. Or sorry, this copy I have is 202 pages. And the number of main characters that we were following felt very large in relation to the number of pages that we had. And therefore, even though each of the characters was unique and I liked it, it felt like I had a long time it took me a long time to keep up with the characters every time they came on page. I had to figure out who we were talking about again. Additionally, at the end, there's some unanswered questions. I feel like the author wraps things up. We're done. We're wrapping things up at this point. And I wish the author had taken a little bit more time to maybe address some stuff, but the author also left room for your own interpretation. So I guess it depends on what you like. I feel like the endings are always a little weird. I feel like I remember that from the Cosmic Puppets as well. That was the other book by Philip K. Dick I had read at this point. And I felt like the ending, if I remember correctly, or maybe I'm just projecting my feelings of this book onto that book, but the ending of this book I felt was a little weird. The last chapter I felt like wasn't the strongest, so that was just another thing that I was like, about. Overall, I really haven't settled on Philip K. Dick and where I stand. I definitely don't think I've read his best works yet. I know he's known for, did he Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, I believe is the one that he wrote. And then I think he also wrote, did he write Man in the High Castle? Am I just making this up? I'm pretty sure those are his like well-known books. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But I don't think, and I think those are probably his best for a reason. Those probably don't have some of the problems some of these other books that I'm reading do have, like the a very extreme datedness of this book and maybe some of the other interesting things that happen in the Cosmic Puppet. So I don't think I read his best yet. I do like the worlds that Philip K. Dick writes. I like the scenarios he comes up with. They're very unique, they're very creative. And for example, the alternate Earth, well, that's been done many times before, but the initial use being to hide a mistress so they don't testify at your divorce trial, that's kind of a unique take on it. And the fact that the alternate Earth is populated by a different strain of humans, or a different species, I guess you could say, of humans than Homo sapiens, that's kind of an interesting take. And in Cosmic Puppets by Philip K. Dick, I like the whole premise that this man goes back to his hometown and finds it entirely different from what he remembers, and he has to figure out what's going on. So I like the worlds and the scenarios and also the characters, but I felt like in this one the characters were just numbered too many. There wasn't really a problem with the characters themselves. It was just the number. But yeah, I don't think I've read his best yet. I feel like both the books I've read from Philip K. Dick thus far, which were the Cosmic Puppets and the Crack in Space, have had some problems that I didn't like. So I look forward to reading ones that maybe are more well known by Philip K. Dick, or ones that are known to be more closer to what people would consider as masterpiece, just so I can make a better assessment on how I feel about the author overall. What do you think? Have you read this book? Did you find the same problems that I do? I think most readers will find the same problems that I did. And what do you think of Philip K. Dick overall? Do you think that I'm hitting the nail on the head? Do you think the problems that I find with his stuff is stuff that all readers find with his book? What do you think? I would love to hear about that in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest